Welcome back! I'm really excited to see you've made it this far in the course. We've learned a ton up to this point about WordPress, blogs, and the basics of Elementor. But in my opinion, now's when things start to get really fun. In this section, we're going to take these foundational skills we've been learning and infuse some real creativity into them as we build our most ambitious page yet, the What We Do page. This page highlights the three main services or offerings of Move Rest Repeat and uses a super cool layout and several new design elements we haven't used yet to catch the visitor's eye and highlight the different ways our make-believe company can train, resource, and motivate them or their teams. We'll continue practicing with widgets we already know, and also learn how to use accordion-style drop-downs, buttons, icons, advanced image layouts, and more. I hope you're as excited as I am to see your skills come together to create this awesome page. Let's get started. Welcome back! In this short video, we'll get our new page set up, our media imported, and everything prepped to begin building our What We Do page. Let's get started. I'll head over here to Pages, down to What We Do, and click Edit. Now we'll click Edit with Elementor to bring up the Elementor page builder. Now here we'll start by doing the same thing we've done with the last few pages. We'll click this folder, go to My Templates, and import our page banner. Click Yes. Great, there we go. We can start off by changing this text to What We Do, and then we'll import our new background image. So let's go up here to the Section button, over to Style, and click our image to replace it. Now I've put 5 images for this page in the Resources folder, and I'm going to import them all right now. We'll go to Upload Files, and then drag over these 5 images. We'll select this one right here for the banner, and then click Insert Media. There, that looks pretty great. I'd like to change the positioning of this though, so let's go over here to Position, and let's choose Center Center, which will center the image perfectly in our image box. Now again, it's a little hard to see this title, so let's go down and add a solid black background overlay. We'll click Classic and change the color to black. Now that's a little too dark, so let's drop the opacity down as far as we can while still maintaining legibility. Let's go to 12. Looks great. Now that our banner's done, let's import one more section before we get started on laying out this page. Let's import our 2-column section. Once again, we'll click Yes. And that's it. We're all set up and ready to start designing. In the next video, we'll get started on this first section of our What We Do page and learn how to use nested sections and columns along with some new widgets to build a great-looking interactive section on our page. See you then! Welcome back! In this video, we're going to get started on the first section of our What We Do page. Over the next several videos, we'll be seeing just how powerful Elementor is by creating some more complex layouts and experimenting with some new widgets. Let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is come down here and rearrange our section by moving this column to the left of this column. Great! Let's get rid of this image by right-clicking and clicking Delete. Now we're going to put in a new widget here that we haven't used yet, one called the Advanced Image widget. So let's type in Image, and here we go, part of the Flocks theme, Advanced Image. We'll drop it in there, and click here to go to our media library and select which image we'd like to use. We'll do this one, the 2 people box jumping. Click Insert Media. There we go. Let's take a look at some of the settings the Advanced Image widget has. We'll go over to Settings and see what we can do here. Now this widget has a setting called Preload Image. Let's click that. Now, when a user visits this page and this image isn't loaded yet, it'll show a blurred out version before the image just pops onto the screen. It's a subtle detail, but makes the experience a lot nicer. Let's also click this tilt effect and see what it does. Now, when a user hovers over the image, there's this cool little animation that happens. Again, a subtle difference, but adds a little polish to our page. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of padding around this image as well. Let's do 25 pixels around the whole image. Let's move over to this right column and try a new layout technique we haven't used yet. We'll come over here to the widgets panel and we're going to add an intersection inside this section. So let's click this and drag it over here to this right column. We'll put it right on the top. Great. We have a section inside another section. Now this section is going to have 3 columns, so what we'll do is right-click on this one and just hit duplicate. Now we have an intersection with 3 separate columns. To clean things up, let's get rid of this text here and our divider. Okay, great. Let's begin by adding the text we want to add inside these 3 columns. We'll go over here and we'll bring in a heading. Let's label this one 01 and go over to the Style tab to change our typography. Let's change this to Montserrat and let's make it 46 pixels. Let's also change the weight to give it a lighter stroke. We'll go to 400. Looks pretty cool. All right, in this middle column, we're going to add a different widget, one we've used before, the divider widget. So let's style it as well. Let's make it 90% wide instead of filling that entire column. Let's align it to the center and go over here to the Style tab and see what else we can change. Let's change it from black to 444444. Now let's add some text to our final column here, and then we'll work on the layout of this. Come back over and drag a heading over. And in this heading, we'll type train. Now let's give this an H1 style here and adjust the typography a little bit. Let's adjust the size and make it 70 pixels. Let's also transform this to uppercase. Okay, that's looking pretty great. Now obviously, we need to adjust the width of these columns. So let's start on that right now. This first one doesn't need to be so wide. So let's go to Edit Column and make it 10% wide. Now let's move over to our divider column and let's make it 25%. There we go. And our third column, yeah, we can bump it up here one click to 65. Looks pretty cool. The only other thing is that these elements are not lined up horizontally. So let's go to these column settings one more time and let's make the vertical align set to middle. Let's go ahead and do it on all of them, just so it's set correctly. So now we see how we can nest sections inside other sections and even increase the number of columns in those sections to create these custom layouts. Also in the resources folder, you'll find all the content for this page. We'll head over there now and copy this intro paragraph. Paste it in there. And things are looking really great. Now let's add another new widget we haven't used yet. We'll go up here, bring back all of our widgets, and type in accordion. Now you may not know it by its name, but you've seen an accordion before on a website, I'm sure. An accordion is just a drop-down list that allows us to compress our content so it doesn't take up so much visual space on the page. Again, the content for this accordion is found in the resources folder. So the way this widget works is it allows us to create multiple sections of content and then minimize or maximize those based on the user's clicking. So let's go ahead and copy and paste the content for this. We do that by coming over here to the menu, and we can change both the title and the content inside right here. So our first section is going to be called Fitness boot camps. We'll copy and paste our content in. And then we can click this title bar to minimize. Now let's go to the second one. This one is called Healthy Life Workshops. Copy that content in as well. And click the title to minimize it. Now we can click Add Item, or we can click this one to duplicate. We'll do that and change the name of this one to Wellness Consulting. And now we'll copy and paste that final paragraph in. Great. Isn't it awesome how different widgets allow us to quickly and easily build a layout that looks really advanced? Let's add one more element here. By going up here back to our widgets, let's drag a button to the bottom. We'll change the text here to Contact Us with an arrow at the end to stay consistent with our other buttons. Now this is looking pretty good. The only thing I'm noticing is that the spacing here is a little bit tight. So let's go ahead and adjust the padding on our right column. We'll clear out this 75 pixels of right padding, link all of our values together, and give it 25 pixels of padding all the way around. We'll go ahead and link this to our contact page by clicking here, clicking the Dynamic Tags button, and pulling open our page's URLs. Here we can select the page we'd like to link to. This will keep this dynamically linked in case we ever change the URL of our contact page. This is looking pretty good. An awesome new section to our site, incorporating a really cool accordion feature to help us better manage our content, and a neat little effect on our image to add a little polish. In the next video, we're going to take a look at the second section of this page, and specifically learn how to work with icons in Elementor, as well as bring back our negative margin for a cool image effect. See you then! Welcome back! In the last video, we built the first section of our What We Do page, and in this video, we're going to use that as a starting point for our second section. So let's get started. We'll start off by right-clicking here and duplicating this entire section. That'll give us a good starting place for this other section. The first thing we're going to do here is change the background color. So let's go up to Style, Classic, and let's click our Global Defaults. We set a background color in a previous lecture, so let's click that. Now, let's swap these columns to give a little variety to our page. Let's start adjusting the content of this left column. We know this is the second section, so we'll change this label to Section 2, and there seems to be something wrong here with our divider. This happens sometimes in Elementor. Let's just right-click and delete it, and go grab this one again. We'll just right-click, copy, and bring it down here and paste a new one in. That's better. Now this section's called Resources, or Resource, so let's change that. Now we'll copy this content here from the resources. You can see that you can actually configure text to look different inside the same text box. Now, let's get rid of our accordion and get rid of our button. And let's add a new intersection. We'll add it at the bottom, and we'll delete this second column to get started. Now, we're going to add 3 icons to this intersection. An icon is just another widget, so we'll go up here and look for the icon widget and drag it in. In a future lecture, we'll talk about uploading our own icons, but for now, we'll use the massive collection of built-in icons that comes with Elementor. So to change your icon, click your icon over here. And this first one, we're going to be promoting the blog feed. So let's type RSS. There's the RSS icon. Click it, insert, and there we go. Now below this, we're going to add a button to our blog. So let's go back to the widgets and drag a button in. Since we set our default styles earlier, all of our buttons will match. Let's center this button and change its text to say blog, with an arrow at the end for consistency. Now to link this to our blog, we can actually click this dynamic tags button. Click Page's URL and look for the page we'd like to link to. Let's go back up to this icon and change the color of it. We'll pick a primary color and we'll use hashtag C5C5C5. Let's actually add that as a global color and we'll call it icon. Now this is looking good, so let's go ahead and duplicate this column twice to create our 3 columns of icons. Now we'll go through quickly and change these last 2. This one, we're going to promote our podcast, so we'll look for a microphone. Click Insert, and now let's edit the button. Podcast. And since we don't have a link yet for this, we'll just close this out. In the future, if you need to set a blank link, just use the #. Now in this 3rd column, we're going to be promoting our YouTube channel. So let's go up here and look for a video camera. We'll type video. There's one. Insert. And we're good to go. We'll change this button to say YouTube. And again, we'll clear out the link. Now let's go over to our 2nd column and adjust this advanced image. It's not displaying for some reason, but that's okay because we're going to swap it out anyway. Let's go over here and click the image to bring up the media library. For this image, we're going to use this picture of a laptop on a desk. Insert media, and there it is. Now, we're going to use our negative margin to make this look pretty cool. Let's go up here to the image, click Advanced, let's unlink our margin values, and for the top, let's add 100, but then put a negative sign in front of it. Let's do the same for the bottom. Okay, we can see now that this image overlaps the actual image container. Let's change the size of this image and see what happens. We'll go back to Content, and under Image Size, we'll click Full. Great! Now it overlaps all of the columns inside. Let's go up here to the section and adjust the padding here. Let's get rid of this 75 pixels of bottom and top padding. Now that looks pretty cool. The image overlaps the edge of this section to give some great flow to the web page. The only other thing I think we should change is to give some right padding to this section here to put our icons a little bit closer together. Let's edit this intersection, go to Advanced, unlink our padding, and put some right padding here. Let's try 100. There we go. That makes these icons fit nicely under this text. And that's it. I hope this section is inspiring you to experiment and try new things with Elementor. In the next video, we're going to finish the layout of this page by creating our final section and pushing our image layout skills even further. See you then. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to finish the layout of our What We Do page by adding a final section to the page. Let's get started. The 3rd section is going to be a copy of this top section. So let's go ahead and go up here and right-click and hit Duplicate. Now let's drag this Resources section up in between these two. And there we go. I'm going to click Update, and then I'm going to reload the page since some of these images aren't displaying. Once in a while, you'll need to refresh your page if something happens and things are displaying a little weird. Okay, this is starting to look good. I like the way this image overlaps the edge, kind of pulls everything together. Let's adjust this section first. Instead of 75 pixels of top and bottom padding, we're going to bump it up to 100. Actually, let's try 150. That helps spread everything out and makes it a little more visually relaxing. Now let's go over to this third column. We know this is going to be section 3, and the word here is motivate. We'll copy the paragraph from the content and the resources. And let's delete our accordion and button. In this section, we're not going to have a button at the bottom, but instead, we're going to share icons to our social media profiles. Let's go back to our widgets and type in social. We'll take this one called social icons and put it at the bottom here. Now that's great, but the color palette of our website's a little more muted, so let's go in and customize these. First, we'll actually add another one. We'll pick an icon, and let's type in Instagram. There it is. Now we'll move Instagram up in between Twitter and YouTube. And now let's get to work styling these icons. Instead of a rounded square, let's actually do circles. And now let's go over to the Style tab and change their color. Instead of the official color of each company, let's set a custom color. And we'll set the primary color to one of our defaults, the icon color. We'll set our secondary color to white. And we'll adjust the spacing. Let's bump it up to 20. Great. Now let's adjust the hover on these icons and say that when they're hovered over, we'll use 444444. That looks great. Now let's get started on this left column. In this left column, we're actually going to use two different images and use negative margin to lay them out in a neat way. So let's take this image and let's replace it. For this top one, we're going to use this picture of this guy on a hill. We'll hit Insert Media. And let's change the size of this image, since we'll have two of them, to medium large. Let's go into our settings, align this picture to the left, and then go into the Advanced tab to work with our margin. Let's first clear out our padding by setting them to 0. Now, let's unlink our margin and set some different values in here. We'll start by putting -60 top and -70 bottom. Now this is looking a little big, so let's change the max width of this. We'll do that in the Style window. Here we go. Let's set that to 350. Now, let's duplicate this image. And on this second one, we'll swap it out for this picture. Go to Settings, change the alignment to right. And now let's adjust the margin so everything fits better. Let's change the margin bottom to -50. And there we go. This looks pretty great. Now we've got an awesome looking What We Do page that will be sure to catch the eye of our visitors and prospective clients. In the next and final video in this section, we'll continue our habit of adjusting the responsive design settings for each page, as well as add a few final touches to make this look really great. See you then! Welcome back! We've just about wrapped up our What We Do page and just need to do some responsive design work as well as add a few final touches to make things really look sharp. Now I'm going to warn you, this is going to be a long video with a lot of responsive design, but hang in there, the end result is well worth it. Let's jump in. Now since we'll be doing quite a bit of responsive adjusting, we're going to take this page one section at a time. Let's start here with section 1, and go to Tablet View. Okay, so this doesn't look too bad, but since we've copied this from our template, it's hiding this image, and on this page, we actually want to show it. So let's right-click this column and hit Edit, and see if this is where we set our responsive settings. Yep, there they are. Let's unhide this on tablet and mobile, and show this. Let's double check our layout settings. Okay, so this one's 25% wide. Let's try to tuck this text up here in the right side by making this column 75% wide. Edit column, layout, 75. Okay, that looks pretty great. Now there's quite a bit of padding in this image. Let's lower that a little bit. Let's unlink our padding, and then relink it, and maybe add 10 pixels. Okay, that's pretty good. Now on this side, let's add a little bit of padding as well to this column. Let's link these together, and say 35 pixels. Okay, that gives us the side-to-side space we're looking for, but this looks a little funny with this white space at the top. Let's unlink our padding, and take away that 35 top. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Let's go ahead and on Tablet View, make this text left aligned. And let's go ahead and shrink this text just a little bit. We'll go over to Style, Typography, and let's say that on tablet these headings are 64 pixels. Now I've adjusted this before, so I know that this will work for the longer words down below. Okay, that looks good. Let's move to mobile and see what it looks like there. Let's double check our section padding. Okay, 20 pixels all around. That looks good. I like this full-size image here, but I'm not crazy about how this heading is showing up. Let's remove some padding here in this column to begin with. That'll fit better on a mobile screen. Now for these columns here that we have nested, let's play around a little bit and see what we can come up with. I think it'd be neat if we had the number and the divider up top and the header below it. So let's come here to the number column, hit Edit, and let's try making this 25% wide. And then let's go here and edit our divider and make it 55%. Okay, that looks better. The accordion looks pretty good, and the button looks good. Now maybe on mobile, we'll shrink this text a little bit more. Let's go back to Typography, and let's change it to 55. Now, just to get everything to fit, let's take the padding off of this image. Let's also take any margin and padding off of this section as well. We'll remove the padding from these columns also to get it looking justified to the left with the rest of this text. Now let's take this intersection and finally add a little bit of bottom padding just to give us some room before our content starts. 20 pixels should do it. Alright, let's go back to tablet and double check. Looks good. And back to desktop. Now let's move on to the second section, the resource section. So we've got this here. Let's go ahead and look at the tablet view of this. Again, it's looking all right, but not great. Let's start by adjusting the same padding we did on the top section. We'll start with the outermost section, go to Advanced, and see what we have here. Okay, 35 pixels. That's what the top one had, so we'll leave it at that. Let's adjust these columns so we can see if we can bring in an image. Now we'll do the reverse of the top one, so let's take this column with the text, hit Edit, and make it 75% wide. Now we can come down here to our other column and make it 25% wide to fit our picture up in here. Okay, I think we're headed in a good direction. Let's start on this left column and add some padding. Let's reset our margin, and then on our padding, let's add 10 pixels to the top, 35 pixels to the right, 10 pixels to the bottom, and 10 pixels to the left. Now let's take this text here and make sure it's left aligned. Now let's do the same thing here with this text that we did with the top. We'll make it a bit smaller, and we'll make this 64. Okay, that fits in a little better. Let's see if we can adjust some of this to make this fit even better. We'll take this column, and we'll remove the margin and the padding. Now, let's shrink our divider. Make it a lot smaller. We can align it to the left. Add a little bit of padding to the left, maybe 10 pixels. And now we can shrink the size of this entire column. Let's shrink it down to 10% as well. Okay, now we have our word fitting better, but now this divider's too small. So let's go back to that and increase the width a little bit. Let's just go to 100. Okay, not too bad. With margin and padding, sometimes it's just a game of playing around and seeing what really works. Let's change the padding of this icon box down here to help these buttons spread out. We'll just reset our padding, and that looks good. Now let's unhide our image. Advanced, responsive. Let's unhide that. We'll keep it hidden on mobile. Okay. Now let's look at our image and see if there's any left and right padding that we can undo. Even better. All right, this section is looking really great on a tablet. Let's move to mobile and see what it looks like there. Okay, so we've got our image hidden, which is good. But now things are still looking a little funny here. Let's go ahead and try the same thing we did on the top column. Let's go back up here and check it out to make sure we do the same way. So this column is 25, and this column is 55. Okay, let's try that here. 25 and 55. Okay, that looks good. Now this is still too big, so let's try making the text smaller and see how that helps. We'll bring it down to 55. And it still fits, but not much. So let's go ahead and on mobile, remove all the padding around this column. Okay, that's starting to fit better. This column here has a little padding as well. So let's remove that too, so we can have things all evenly aligned on the left. Now let's take this top section and add a little bit of bottom padding to it. Okay, that looks good. Now we could leave these icons all together, or we could try making two of them 50% wide, just to save a little vertical space. Okay, I think I like that layout. Let's double check on tablet. Okay, still looks pretty good. Maybe we'll change the padding on this column at the top, just to bump things up a bit and try to balance this space a little bit better. Okay, and back out to desktop. All right, only one section left. I know this can be tedious, but it's well worth it because now we know that visitors on all devices will see our site just the way we want them to. So for this third section, let's look at the tablet view. We'll adjust these columns right away and make this one 75% wide so it fits up next to the other one. We'll make this 25. And now we've got those together. All right, so on tablet, let's go to these images. Well, first let's unhide this column. We don't need that hiding on either of these. And we'll take these images and we'll just reset their margin and padding. Now we've got two images in this section, and although they're not overlaid, they still look pretty good. Let's adjust our padding in this right column to give a little horizontal space. So let's do 35 right and 35 left. Okay, let's left align this text. Our icons still look good. And let's adjust this text size and see if it fits. We'll go to typography, make it 64, and things are looking pretty good. We've got a little problem with this divider here, so let's adjust these column widths on tablet. Make this one 15, and we'll drop this one to 10, and that looks better. Now let's also take the padding out of this so that these align on the left side. And there we go. That looks pretty good on tablet. Let's move to mobile and see what it looks like there. All right, so we've got our two images here. On mobile, let's go ahead and hide this bottom one. We'll hide that on mobile. And let's get to work here on this section. We'll remove all of our padding. And we'll adjust these columns like we did before. Make this one 25%. Our divider 55%. And that lets our text here breathe a little bit. Let's get rid of the padding in this one, so that that fits on the page nicely. And let's add some bottom padding to this section altogether. We'll do 20 to give it a little bit of room before our content starts. Okay, let's scroll back up here. All right, I think this looks pretty great. Let's double check on tablet. And back out to desktop. Awesome. Before we're done, there's only two other small things we need to change. You'll notice here that this accordion always has the top one open. I think it'd be really great if these all were closed or collapsed when the page loads. To do that, we're going to do what we did on another page and copy paste a little bit of CSS code in. But first, let's go to this accordion, duplicate this top item, and just make it blank. Sometimes in development, you just need to come up with a workaround to get things the way you want them to be. Now, in your resources, there's a section of CSS code. We'll copy it in here under the Advanced, Custom CSS section, and we'll paste it in. Again, you don't have to worry about this code. All it's doing is telling this accordion to hide that top blank section. Great. We kind of tricked it into displaying the way we want to. Now, the final thing that's left is these buttons here. When we hover over, it might be a small detail, but they each are white on the background. I think it'd be really cool if they were the color of the background of this section. So let's go in and go to Style, go to Hover, and change the background color to our background color. Looks pretty cool. Let's do it to the other two real quick. Hover, background color, and one last time. Hover, background color. It's small details like this that really make a site stand out. Wow, that was a huge section and a long video, but I hope you think the results were well worth it. Congratulations on building such an awesome page. I hope you're beginning to see how with web design and Elementor, the toolbox of foundational skills you developed early on are the same ones you'll use designing almost anything you can dream up. As always, feel free to keep working on this page, changing it up to match your own taste or style, including adding different widgets or images. Really make it your own. Learning web development is best done by doing, so don't hesitate to push the limits of your knowledge and try new things. In the next section, we'll wrap up this sample project by building the crown jewel of our site, the home page. We're going to push things further yet again with a bold, clean design filled with gorgeous images and a few other features I'm sure you'll enjoy learning. So take a break, and I hope to see you in the next section really soon.